Well, hi everybody, welcome to a very special edition of Lightning TV. I'm really pleased to have on the line with us this evening on Saturday night, Lewis Clifford, the head coach of Milton Keynes Lightning. Cliff, thanks very much for joining us. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Dicko. Yeah, it's good to see you even down the other end of a computer screen. Nice to speak to you, and looking forward to answering your questions.
It seems like an age ago since we had our last interview at the end of the season. It was, 100 days ago now, 10 weeks, they keep saying it. Everybody's lost count of lockdown and everything else. And I guess we always, in the back of our minds, knew that may be the last game of the season, the way everything was going around us. And everybody was panicking a little bit and wanting to get this, that and the other finished and stuff like that. And so it was. And the right decision in the end. We didn't know how it was going to pan out. But hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. It does seem like a long time, doesn't it? I mean, I actually find in this kind of lockdown period that some days actually go quite quickly and other days just take an age. But yeah, like when you start looking in weeks and how long ago was it that so-and-so happened? It was like 6 weeks ago. You know, we've pretty much lost 2 whole months now, haven't we? We lost the whole of April. We're just coming up to the end of May. We've lost the whole of May as far as normal life goes. So it does seem like a long time ago that I last saw you and spoke to you. But obviously, we've been busy just sort of getting on with things in the background and trying to get things ready for when we are allowed to start back up.
I was going to come on to next season a little while, but I want to talk about the ending to last season first of all, because it was cut short. We all knew that. But I can remember the last conversation I had with you, and I had the same conversation with Russell Cowley and a number of the guys as well. And apart from the fact you were disappointed about the season finishing early, you were actually particularly really gutty, weren't you? Because you had a total belief that you guys could go in and do something had you had the opportunity to go and have a good run in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy for me to sit there and go, oh, we could have won the playoffs. Of course we could have won the playoffs. But you have to remember there's 7 other coaches that would have told you the exact same thing. I don't even think actually the final team qualification had been decided, had it? So potentially 9 teams that were still in for the 8 spots. And, I did have a good feeling that, if anyone had a chance of winning the playoffs, we had as good a chance as anyone, if not more so than others. But it was a cruel way to end the season. I am happy that Telford got to finish off and get their trophy for winning the league. They were the best team over the whatever we ended up playing. Was it 50 games in the end, or 49 games?
Yeah.
Games we ended up playing. They totally deserved to win the league. They were the best team from September till March, and I was happy that there was a conclusion on that. But yeah, I was gutted. I was, and actually, as the sort of milestones sort of passing during lockdown, we would have been playing the first weekend of the playoffs, second weekend, third weekend. It would have been Coventry weekend this weekend. I was quite miserable because nobody, hockey's great. Hockey's great from September till April, but there's nothing better than the playoff finals weekend. We had no divine right to win it. I think we had good enough form that we had a good chance of winning it, as good a chance as anyone. But whether you get there, you win on Saturday and you get to play again on Sunday. Whether you lose on Saturday, whether you win the whole thing, like either way, just being there is great. And missing out on that was gutting. It would have been 6 tough games to get there in the first place. I think you probably needed to win 4 of them to be sure.
Yeah.
But it was gutted, and I know a lot of us felt like a bit of a sense of a loss, really, that we were sort of not given a chance to have a go because we were so far behind in the league before we got really playing the way we should, which then obviously put us out of the semi-finals of the cup as well, because that's all tied in with the first home and away game against every team. So to start again from a level playing field, we all felt that we had a great chance. So yeah, sad times, but you have to put it into perspective, I suppose. And there's a lot more serious issues going on in the world that are far more important than me being a sulky about not being able to go and play in the playoffs. So there's always a positive, I suppose, that we're all healthy and well.
Yeah, yeah, 100% out. So you sort of briefly touched on what you've been doing. I know before you were doing this. I mean, we're really lucky. The weather's great at the moment. You know, I'm sat in my garden chatting to you now. I know you're out doing your chores and cutting the grass earlier. But I know you've
Yeah.
been, you know, you've spent some time getting some quality family time as well, haven't you?
Yeah, you know, it's weird. It's hard. You know, it's hard for all of us. I think trying to adjust to the kind of new normal. I know I've heard that phrase said a lot. You know, my wife, she's working at home, and it's tough for her because, you know, me, the kids here, the dog, you know, all making a racket. She's trying to have calls a bit like we're having now online, but serious ones. You know, about her job. And we're, you know, trying to be as quiet as we can, but it's not ideal. You know, we don't live in a great big massive house. Um, but yeah, the weather is nice, which is a positive. The few days when it has been rainy, it's been, I think, puts just a magnifying glass on the whole situation that
Yeah,
you're in. That not only am I not able to go to work, not only am I, you know, not able to go down and have a beer with some of my mates, not only am I not allowed to do any of that, I now can't really even go outside the house. You know, so. But yeah, it's been a period of adjustment because, you know, during the season, to be honest with you, Dick, I probably work 60, 70 hours a
yeah,
week.
yeah. You're putting the hours in.
Yeah, I sometimes don't see my family awake from one day to the next. Certainly over that period of sort of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the nights when we either have training or I coach juniors, I normally come home, everyone's in bed. They get up and go to school and work. I get up, go to the rink, and I don't see them again. So, you know, from going from maybe a couple of hours a day here and there being with the family to being with the family pretty much 24 hours a day, it's lovely, but it's also in a period of adjustment for all of us because none of us are used to it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's taken some time to get used to.
I think as Dowds is a good time to also sort of think about maybe and mention some of the, you know, the members of the, I guess, the Milton Keynes hockey family as well. It's just because we're talking about you know, people sat in the garden and stuff like that. We're on furlough, and but people, there's a lot of people that are not furloughed. There's a lot of people that are key workers. They're having to work, and they're going to work, and they're doing their thing, and you know, and obviously we're all very, very thankful for that. But not only that, there's people in the wider hockey family that over the last couple of months have lost loved ones for, and not necessarily down to just COVID, for example, you know, for other reasons as well. And they've been through a tough time, haven't they? And they've not been able to go and to you know, see their loved ones off, if you like, at funerals and stuff like that. It's a tough time for everybody.
Yeah, it's a bit awful, mate. You know, I've got so much respect for the people, you know, working in the NHS and all the frontline workers, but not just them, actually. I think they get a lot of, you know, the plaudits,
Yeah,
but like even like the people working in my local supermarket have been absolutely brilliant. Like, you know, I go in there and I see them. It's only quite a small supermarket, so I see the same staff all the time, and they're always greeting you with a smile on their face. You know, even when you're queuing up outside, they're always friendly and approachable and polite when they're letting you in, sort of one at a time. Um, and yeah, it's been amazing to see the strength in some people that have had to like just carry on. You know, their job has not changed, or it's got worse. You know, it's got harder, it's got tougher.
yeah,
So fair play, hats off to those people. But yeah, like you said, obviously the most important thing when, you know, and it's easy actually when you're in your own little bubble to sort of not realise that all of those numbers on the screen of people that have caught or contracted the virus or died of it are real people.
yeah,
You know, personally, touch wood, no one in my immediate family has been sick, but obviously I know people whose immediate family have been sick, or, you know, unfortunately some people that have passed away, and it's tragic. You know, we all die of something one day. You know, that's life, but you know, just to catch a virus, you know, going about your everyday business, and it ends up, you know, finishing you off, it's absolutely tragic. And you know, the figures are not good to start
right.
with. We're not at the end of it yet, so they're obviously going to increase, you know, and grow. I just hope that, you know, people are following the guidance, and that number does continue to come down. That's the one encouraging thing, is that when you look at the graph
Yeah,
that they show, you know, on the news and on the websites, it is coming down. We are getting closer to the bottom of it than we were when we were at the top. And just hopefully everyone can heed the advice to stay home and, you know, only break the restrictions as the restrictions are lifted, rather than just go, oh, right, that's it. You know, it's June, I'm going out. you know. So yeah, hats off to all the people that are working, all the frontline workers. I've got utmost respect for all of them, and thank you for all that you do. And my deepest sympathies to anyone who's been affected by the virus.
Great words. Thanks for that, Cliff. So we're going to move on and think about what we're going to do next season now, of course. And you said that, you know, the work never stops. And indeed it hasn't, because there's been work going on behind the scenes between you, yourself, and Claire, Matt, Tom, Anna, and John, of course, the ownership group. And you're starting to put together now what is starting to look like the nucleus and the retention of what was a pretty good squad last season. You know, we're talking about people like Jamo, Griff coming back. I think a big signing there as well is Russ Cowley agreeing to come back for another season. And I've got to say, hats off for you to getting that one, because he wasn't sure himself, was he, at one point?
No, he wasn't. No.
Liam, of course, is your cornerstone, I guess. Sam Russell, brilliant prospect, and the addition of Eggers Bebris from Swindon, of course, that's a huge signing for you.
Yeah, like I said, so the only newcomer from those that you just mentioned is obviously Eddie Bebris. He's a player that I've liked, well, not liked because he's always been playing against my team, but that I've really admired the way he plays ever since I think he was a teenager playing for the Steel Dogs. He's always caught my eye, and he's a player that, you know, I've always thought if I could bring him to play for my team one day, I'd like to do it. You know, so he is a bit of a marquee signing for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, all the guys that have been announced, you know, I wouldn't set one apart from another. They're all huge key pieces to the team, and I'm looking forward to having them all back. But yeah, like you said, Cal's made me work hard for it. He was giving me the I'm not sure, and he wasn't sure. You know, he's not the sort of guy that would play hard to get for no reason. So you know, I managed to twist his arm and get another season out of him. You know, like I've said a few times, like leadership is such a huge important aspect to having a team, and you can't manufacture it. You know, you can't just tell someone you want them to be a leader and they're going to start being a leader. You know, it takes time and experience. So, you know, obviously he's a great leader. Not only him, but other guys that we've brought back are also fantastic leaders, and they help, you know, set the standards and push the performances up of the young guys. Like you mentioned, Sam Russell, like one of the youngest guys on the team. So, yeah, I think I'm happy with what we've got so far. You know, and I look forward to seeing people's reactions as the rest of the squad sort of gets announced over the next God knows how many weeks.
I know one signing that would have raised a smile yesterday was the return of Grant McPherson, and I'm just wondering, actually, you know, obviously because we retired his shirt a couple of seasons back, it's hung in the rafters, it's got a bit dusty and everything else. We brought it back down. Do you just not want to give it back? You just want to keep wearing it now?
I don't know. I think there certainly is, a bit like you touched on with your question to me earlier. There's certainly a massive feeling of unfinished business with certain guys on the team because of how last season ended. Sometimes the best time to retire is when you've just won a trophy. I think, you know, we've seen it before. Players like Blas Emisic, you know. We won a double that year, and his kit's still in the loft at the rink. You know, he's never played hockey again. But you know, I think that guys that are getting sort of towards the twilight of their career may have been swayed to the other side if we'd have, you know, either won the playoffs or got knocked out of the playoffs and the season had finished as a season should finish. But with that kind of not happening, I think some of the slightly older players on the team wanted another crack at it. You know, we had a disappointing start to the season. We put ourselves way behind the 8 ball before we'd even got going. We got going, and then when we got going, we really got going. And unfortunately, then the one trophy that was up for grabs, we didn't have a chance to play for. So I think some of the older guys, G certainly, possibly Russ as well, you know, probably think, let's go one more time, you know, and try and win a trophy. And maybe this time next year, it'll be a different conversation that we're having about those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly looking like a great nucleus. And chatting to you as well, I've always had the impression that you don't want to make, you've gone on record as well. You say you don't want to make that many changes to last year's squad. You've got a good nucleus there, and there may be a couple of changes. Eddie's one, obviously. There may be a couple of others, but you really want to retain that nucleus of the squad you had last season.
Yeah, that's it. I don't want to change too much for the sake of changing too much. So last year, we had several problems at the start of the season. So the first one was we had pretty much a whole brand new team, right? So that's a fact. That's not an excuse. That's a fact. And then we had obviously horrendous injuries, which is a bit of an excuse, but also is a fact. We had, like we just said, leadership. Captain, both the A's injured for a long period of time, all at the same time. We had massive holes in our squad. And unfortunately, myself as coach, players as players, we weren't good enough. We weren't doing a good enough job to pull ourselves out of that hole and win enough games consistently to stay afloat for when the guys came back. So then obviously we made a few changes to the team, and the guys all came back at the same time. And then that was when we really started seeing the potential of the team. So what I don't want to get into this year is having to learn a whole new team of personalities and a whole new team of guys that I have to learn about them and what makes them tick and what makes them play well. I'd rather stick with very close to the same roster that we had last year. Make some changes where changes were needed, and just really try and build on what we started to build last year. Every time you change your roster completely, there's a bedding in process, and I don't want to have to deal with that again. I want to keep that consistency and drive forward rather than standing still or going a little bit backwards to move forwards.
That may even thinking about it may even benefit you as well, because right now as we sit here, we don't know. You don't know when you're going to have access to the rink. You don't know. Although Planet Ice have put out a statement saying they're hopeful that they're going to start reopening in the not too distant future, but who knows what that's going to look like. So I guess really it makes sense to start the work now and makes sense to retain those core individuals, so you don't have that bedding in process, because in reality you could get very, very short notice between having access to the rink and having to start a season quite quickly.
Yeah, you could do. What I think the positive there is I don't think it will start earlier than we expect. I think if anything it would be the opposite way around.
October's being touted, isn't it? I know the elite league.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn in saying that October has been discussed amongst the ownership groups of across the league. I don't think it will be a case that we were expecting to start in October and all of a sudden now it's back to September. I think if anything it will move in the right direction for preparations, not necessarily the right direction for me who wants to go back to work, or the right direction for the fans who want to watch hockey, but the right direction as in I don't think we're going to get like 2 weeks notice. I think we'll have a bit more than that. But it's tough. It now is the time of the year when actually I should probably be having some time off anyway. And the guys would be probably just thinking about getting himself back in the gym and starting to build up. But obviously the season came to a sort of a premature end. So everything kind of fast forwarded a little bit, or come a little bit sooner in the off season than it would have. So if anything, that's like less of a good excuse for guys to not turn back up in shape. They've had plenty of time for the bumps and bruises to heal.
Jamo claimed to go out on a bike ride last weekend, didn't he?
He claimed to, So I saw a screenshot from a Strava or something, but it didn't seem to be his Strava. So
it could be anybody.
It could have been. It could have been Bradley Wiggins, for all I know. So, I'm pretty sure he did. I know that Jamo, amongst other guys, are working hard because I've had a lot of texts from guys asking if I know where they can get a hold of certain bits of equipment or things like that, which the answer is no, I don't. And if you can find it, let me know, because every website...
You can't get kettlebells or dumbbells or anything, can you? They went.
You can't get anything, mate. No, you can't get anything. I looked and I found a few bits and pieces, just about enough to sort of keep me ticking over. And then I, in turn, lent some of that out to some of the guys, because actually their need is greater than mine, because I'm just out of shape and need to lose some weight. Whereas
are you still doing your garden workouts? And
I do some garden workouts, yeah, a little bit of running, which is frustrating because I went back through my old Garmin times the other day. I stopped using Garmin when I stopped running, and now I use an Apple Watch. And I've just been running 5Ks, and I went back through my old Garmin times from when I was training for the marathon.
Yeah.
And I just felt like an old horse that needs to be taken out to the field and shot, because I've been celebrating my time coming down sort of week by week, and I'm so far behind where I was when I used to run all the time. So I
you're
wish
3 or 4 years older, right?
Yeah, 3 years older since I ran anywhere with any kind of purpose. So a 5K at the minute seems quite far, which it just really isn't. But yeah, I'm doing that a couple of times a week, and since the social distancing things have been slightly lifted, I've been training outdoors with Robin a couple of times a week, which is nice because I get a bit of personal training and he gets to see a real person in real life.
As it were, a human as opposed to a rabbit.
Yeah, exactly. And just trying to I'm just trying to lose a bit of weight, to be honest, Dicko. I was a bit fat at the end of the season and I had a bit of timber to lose. So, no excuses really. I've got time, if nothing else.
Absolutely. I'm going to talk about budgets a little bit because we've always had these discussions about budgets, and I know sometimes that you get a little bit frustrated because it's very easy sometimes for people to throw the budget word at a team when they're doing well or they're making some what I would call key signings and so on and so forth. And I've seen a few bits and pieces over the last couple of weeks on various forums and on social media, and it's all of a sudden, Milton Keynes are buying the league and this, that, and the other, and it's. I mean, that couldn't actually be further from the truth, could it? I know people will probably expect us to say that, but it's so far away from the truth. It's unbelievable.
You know what? I don't know exactly what other teams spend on, but I do know what, there are rumours everywhere, right? So everyone knows what this player in this team's earning this much and this player in this team's earning. They're probably not.
No one knows. No one knows the truth, right?
Nobody knows. Nobody sees each other's contracts. I don't see a contract of a player that plays in Sheffield or Romford or anywhere else. But I did have a chuckle because someone sent me a screenshot from one of the hockey forums or something the other day of someone had proposed our lines, and I was like, whoa! Like there's some names on there for a start. Secondly, I don't think that we've got enough seats in our locker room to have that many players, although, it'd be lovely. And also there was obviously names of players on there that I've never even spoken to. And then the next day it was announced that Sheffield had signed Sisters from Peterborough.
Yeah.
And obviously he was one of the ones that was on the list.
He was one of the ones that was on the list, yeah.
Yeah, I've never spoken to the guy, Dicko. Like I don't have his number. I've never had a conversation with him. So I think it just sort of became a bit fashionable just to throw around that if anyone's leaving any team that they're coming to play for us. But like I've told you, there's not going to be many changes to the team.
No.
So yes, some players will be joining us that weren't here last season. Not many, not everyone who's leaving, another team. The thing about budgets is that as much as I'd like to spend all the money in the world and have an NHL caliber team, our owners are very responsible and don't let me spend a penny that we can't afford. Yeah. So, I've never gone, oh, can I sign this player? And it's just been like, yes. It's always been like, let's look at the numbers, let's look at the figures, let's look at the spreadsheets, let's look at the average attendance or the projected attendance over the next, 6 months. The budget is the budget. I'm not going to have as big of a squad as I would like, I don't think, the way it's looking at the moment. And that's part of the budget, that we are in uncertain times at the moment.
Landscape's changed, doesn't it? Landscape's, changed in this 10, 12 weeks. It's a completely different animal to what it was before. Yeah,
exactly. And, so I would always rather not commit to somebody than commit to somebody knowing that there's a chance I might have to release them. Because that's not the way I would like to be. Sort of, I wouldn't like to have a reputation as a coach that does that. Yeah. And also, it's not good for the player. If I could tell someone now, like, I don't think we've got the money to sign you, and they can go and find a team elsewhere, there's a lot better than thinking that they've got a place here and having to release them in October, November, December because we've run out of money. So yeah, obviously budget's a budget, so I have a figure that I have to work within, and that's calculated, by a formula of what works in Milton Keynes. We're not going out just taking out loans and spending money that we don't have. So I'm confident that if I agree to pay somebody X amount of money a week, that the ownership group will pay them, and they will pay them from the start of the season to the end of the season. And there's not much more you can ask for from your owners, really.
No. A couple of statements coming out this week as well, obviously, we talked about when we're going to go back, and we mentioned the Planet Ice statement that came out earlier on this week, early doors. And then the unfortunate news, of course, that Bracknell Ice Rink are looking to make some redundancies, and they've made a statement to their local paper, I think, over in Bracknell. I think it was on Thursday, that they're struggling to make ends meet. They don't know where they're going to carry on. So I guess we have to keep our fingers crossed for the Bracknell organisation. In fact, all the ice users in Bracknell, because the last thing we want to do is lose another facility in this country.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Like we need more ice rinks, not less, right? If we want to, continue to grow the sport, if we want participation numbers to go up, like another rink closing is awful. It's not even worth, I don't even really want to think about it, because whilst, I don't come from Bracknell, I've never played for Bracknell. I've only ever played in or coached in Bracknell for another team. The worst thing that can possibly happen to ice hockey in this country is losing teams and losing rinks. So I'm hoping, I've tried to read between the lines a little bit, although it wasn't a particularly in-depth statement that I saw from the Bracknell Bees, but it doesn't seem the team are in trouble, and hopefully rinks will be allowed to open soon, and the Bracknell Ice Rink can start making money again, and they won't be in trouble. But really, who knows, mate? Who knows? It's worrying times, and certain industries are going to be hit really, really hard by this, and maybe leisure, and whether it's gyms or leisure centres or ice rinks, I don't know. Is that something that people are going to be itching to do the day the rinks reopen? Maybe. Or is it going to be something that's sort of a nice to have still, like a casual pastime? I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows, and that's the problem.
It's a tough one. It is a tough one, and I guess on the back of that as well, the managers, management group from Lightning put out a statement the other day as well about just updating the fans, which is something they've been really, really good at ever since they took over last season. Of course, the communication with the fan base has been really, really good, and I guess that puts a lot of people's minds at rest. When you think about the season tickets that are being sold right now, I think it's 70 additional season tickets already on top of people already renewing, and I guess they wanted that, that foundation, if you like, that reassurance that should something not quite happen at the start of the season, or the second spike come along, or us not being able to play games, that money's been ring fenced for them, and they can get the refund on that, which is really reassuring to know.
Yeah, and that's the right thing to do. Obviously, not that it was lucky, because I don't consider any of this whole situation lucky, but we were lucky that there was only one more home game left on the season tickets when the virus kind of put us all into the current situation, because one game isn't a real big deal, whether it's that most people said I'll keep the money, or paying them back, or giving them a discount from a purchase in the future. So none of it's lucky, but that was a opportune timing. If you had to choose any, it would have been with no games left. So to have it with one game left wasn't the end of the world. But yeah, certainly if it was to happen, 5 games in, of a 50-odd game season, and obviously, and you've spent all the money, you can't refund it, then we would be in a serious situation. So yeah, the owners are fully aware of that, and that money will be looked after in a way where it will be safe. So if we got to December and the season got called and we owed everyone half their season ticket money back, we would make sure that everyone got their refunds. And I think that's the only way you can do it. It's never has a season been so uncertain before.
No, that's good. That's the thing.
And it's the same for all of our teams, whatever league they play in, whether it's Elite League, National League, National 1 and 2, North and South. Oh, it's the same for all of us. anyone that charges people to get in, and anyone that sells season tickets. So we've just got to be really careful of how we manage that.
Yeah, definitely. Brilliant. Well, listen, Cliff, it's been so good talking to you. I really do appreciate your time today, and absolutely fantastic. A couple of things we need to mention, of course, before we go, because the supporters club have been working really, really hard ever since the season came to a close. They've been doing their raffles, of course, up on the raffle website. Another one coming up tomorrow. That's drawn at 8:30 tomorrow, Sunday night. You can win yourself a season ticket, a family ticket to a game, and also an opportunity to bench with Lightning, of course. And all you need to do to find out about that is go onto the Supporters Club Facebook page. And as we come up to the end of May as well, all the way through May, Supporters Club have been running the merchandise, of course, for the MK Hospital COVID-19 appeal, which is done really, really well. And I think Dave and the team have still got some merchandise available for that. So again, go onto the Facebook page. You can get details all about that as well, and get yourself some merchandise and put yourself some money to a brilliant cause as well.
Yeah, it's been great to see the fundraising that the guys have been doing, obviously for us, but not just for us, like even more so to see that obviously the money being raised for the hospital.
Yeah.
Obviously we've got quite close ties with our local hospital, either through guys needing treatment during the season, but also, you know, we do like the Christmas videos, and we did the charity month for the hospital charity. Excuse me, it's the dog barking. And you know, I think it's such an important thing to have that close link with your local hospital, especially in a city like Milton Keynes. You know, the hospital is a integral part of the community, and I'd like us to be viewed the same. You know, that we're the only, you know, not the only, we're the only ice rink certainly, but you know, the only organisation or the big group of ice hockey clubs that make up sort of the MK hockey family. You know, you've only got one of us. Yeah. You've only got one football club in the Dons and whatever. And I think it's really important that we support our local hospital when we're looking at fundraising. Yeah, everything we do in the locality is really important to the club at the end of the day, isn't it? It's massively important. And I guess it'd be remiss of me to mention, not to mention the other hockey clubs as well, the recreational clubs are also not playing at the moment, but are also all taking part in these virtual tournaments and stuff like that. And, you know, the fans are getting involved in that. That's what I was kind of alluding to when I said like sort of the group of teams to make up the MK hockey family. But yeah, some of it's been quite good. You know what? This is something I never thought you'd hear me say. I watched for about 5 minutes the other day, Stewie and Lauday playing NHL. Joe Rain as well. The three of them. Joe Rain's involved as well. Yeah. And I was like, I watched it and I was like, you could hear Stewie talking, and I was like, I had to sort of have a word with myself. I was like, what are you doing? You're watching these nerds play a computer game. And so yeah, I was quite surprised with myself. And then as soon as I kind of realised what I was doing, I switched it off. And I was like, hopefully never again. But you know, you never know when you get so bored. Maybe I will watch it again. NHL's coming back soon. You can watch that. Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. That and the football. I've never watched so much German football in my life. I've never watched German football before. Listen, it's been brilliant talking to you, mate. I really do appreciate your time, and hopefully giving a good insight to the fans about what's going on and everything else. And no doubt we'll do another one of these before the season starts. But keep going with the signings. Good looking team so far, and fingers crossed we'll start getting through the back end of this and make sure everybody's safe first of all, and we can start getting back on the ice. Yeah, thanks a lot, Dicko. It's nice to speak to you, mate. Even though I'm only seeing you on the screen, but it's like I'm actually the best social interaction we get at the moment, isn't it? So. Well, it means if you do the chat. It means if you start giving me a bit of rib, I can just turn you off. That's as easy as. Well, yeah. To be fair. Cheers, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks a lot, mate. See you soon. Cheers.